All right, it's story time, fellas. And tonight, I'm going to share with you the sad but true tale of an ex-girlfriend who dumped a future millionaire and ended up becoming a single mom. And not just a single mom, but a single mother of 2 children from 2 different fathers. And unfortunately, this is a true story. Okay? So, whether you're male or female, you will gain value from this story. There is a moral at the end of the story, so whether you're a guy watching this or a girl watching this especially, you will learn something from this story. Hopefully you do, and hopefully you will take value from it. So, let's dive right into this, shall we? Because I've been getting a lot of questions from you guys who've asked me about the last girl who dumped me back in 2006, and you have questions about that. How did I meet this girl? What really happened? What's the backstory? So I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into it in tonight's story. Okay, so in order to do this right, we need to go back in time about 15 years, right? So mid-2000s. Actually, I met this girl in around 2003, right? The end of 2003, I met her. I remember I was at a venue. This is when I was still living in the Bay Area in San Francisco. So I met her at a venue, and I remember the first time I saw her, I was just so taken back. I was like, oh my God, this girl is gorgeous, right? This girl is beautiful. I mean, she just was like naturally gorgeous, just a naturally pretty face where you don't need to cake on a whole lot of makeup. I mean, she could look good in the morning. Her face was just like, ugh. She was young. She was in her mid-20s at the time. I think she was about 24, 25 when I first met her. And I was like, I have got to meet this girl, right? I mean, I was just there for a little bit just to step in and kind of check things out. It was more or less my buddy, my wing, who wanted to go. I just wanted to go home that night, but he was like, no, we got to check out this place. We got to check out this venue. And I'm like, all right. So we go in. Oh, and there was a cover. And I am against paying cover, right? I hate paying cover charge. I just don't do it. But this was one of those rare times. I'm like, okay, it's only $10. Okay, I'll do it because you really want to go, right? My wing. So we go in there. And immediately, like once we get in there, he goes to the bathroom. So I'm waiting outside the bathroom for him. And there she was, standing there. And she was waiting for her friend to come out of the bathroom. And right when I saw her, again, I was taken back. I was like, I have got to talk to this girl. So I went over to her. I was like, I just said the first thing that came out of my mouth, right? I said, you know what? You and I would have beautiful looking babies together. That was the first thing I could think of. And as silly as it was, she just like melted, right? Immediately as we began talking, like she was like, oh my God, nobody's ever said that to me. And I was like, really? You know, and then I introduced myself. She introduced herself. And immediately I could feel a connection between us. There was a connection between us. The only caveat was, she said, before you go any further, I have to let you know I have a boyfriend. And I was like, a real boyfriend or a fake boyfriend, right? I was already calling girls out on that because that's the most common objection you're gonna get. Oh, I have a boyfriend. Half the time it's true, half of the time it's not. In this case, it happened to be true, right? But it happened to be one of these guys where it was just like, she wasn't really that into him. It was more or less like a holdover until she met somebody higher value. I know that sounds bad, but a lot of girls do that, especially a lot of attractive girls. They'll just kind of have like a boyfriend of convenience that they'll keep around until they meet a guy that they really like. And it was also a bad sign that she was out there clubbing and she had a boyfriend at home. So I know already a lot of red flags, right? This girl's at a club, she has a boyfriend, and here she is talking to me. So already red flags. I know. Okay, so I asked for her number and she said no, right? She said no more than a few times. So credit to her, she did stand her ground. She was like, there's no way I'm giving you my phone number. I'm sorry. She was like, I like you. I think you're cute. She was like, you're really cute, but I can't. I have a boyfriend. I was like, you know what? Normally I don't push it this hard, but I feel like we've got something here. Can we at least be friends, right? I was already doing what I teach you guys. I was already opening up the thread of conversation that would allow me to at least get into her life some way, somehow, right? I mean, even just going the friend route, like, hey, does he let you have guy friends? Can I just be one of those friends, right? And she was like, he lets me have guy friends, but I don't think it's a good idea, because she was like, I don't want to be tempted, you know, more or less is what she was saying. And I was like, this sucks. I'm like, I really, really want to be able to contact you again. And she was like, sorry, right? And then she just takes off. She goes to the dance floor, totally ignores me. And my friend, his name was Keith, right? My wing. He was like, all right, this place sucks. Let's go. And I'm like, no, I want to talk to this girl. He was like, you didn't even want to stay. Let's go. And I'm like, dude, I'm not leaving till I get her number, right? So she's on the dance floor. He's like, dude, she's buried all the way in the dance floor. I go over to the dance floor. I see her dancing up there. And I'm like, screw this, like, plow through all these people, like a crowd of people. I remember dudes were like looking at me because I was like squeezing by them, you know, kind of like almost a little rudely, because I was trying to get to her, right? That's how bad I wanted to close this girl. And I finally like get to her, and she was like, oh my God. She was like, no, no, no. And I'm like, you know what? I'm about to leave with my friend. I'm like, all right, fine. You don't have to give me your number. Can I at least get your email, right? So this was the mid-2000s. This is before social media. There was no Facebook. There was no Instagram. There wasn't even MySpace yet, put it that way. So I was like, can I at least get your email? And I'm like, come on, an email's harmless. And I just started selling it. I was like, what can I possibly do through email? If you don't want to respond, you don't have to, but can I at least get your email? And she was like, oh my gosh, fine, right, gives me your email address. I go home, and the first thing I do is I flip on my computer and I write her this paragraph long email, which I would not do today, by the way. I don't know, I mean, it's really tough to say, because it's very rare you meet somebody like that where you feel this instant connection. And I do a lot of cold approach, okay? I cold approach all the time. Very rarely do I come across a girl where I'm like, whoa, I'm taken back, right? And I need to push the set as far as I can. So I got her email, right? Went home, wrote her this paragraph long email. It was that night I wrote the email, I went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, almost forgot about it too. And I checked my email, and the first email I got was from her. And she was like, I can't believe how hard you tried to talk to me. She was like, I can't believe that you didn't just turn around and walk away. I can't believe you walked to the middle of the dance floor, you know, to just reach out to me. And she was like, and you did it in a way that wasn't creepy. And she was like, oddly, it didn't even seem pushy, even though I was kind of a little pushy. I was a little salesy. She was like, it didn't even seem pushy. And she was like, oh my gosh. She was like, what am I doing? If you want to talk on the phone sometime, here's my number. I was like, ah, right. So I got her number that way. She gave me her number. And so I called her and asked her if she wanted to go to dinner. And she was like, yeah, I can't tonight, but I'm free tomorrow night. So I'm like, okay, cool, let's go tomorrow night. We met for dinner the following night at this restaurant. It was overlooking the water. Really, really romantic. Immediately, like as we were at dinner even, we could feel like there was something between us. And even the way she was looking at me was like, whoa, I mean, there's something about this guy, right? So she was still with this boyfriend though. So there was basically almost like a year where we just kind of kept in contact. We basically became friends. I kind of did my own thing. She did her own thing, but she kept in contact with me. And then finally one day she just called and she was like, I broke up with him. And I'm like, you did? She was like, yeah, I'm just done. It's not something she would normally do, but she was like, she wanted to move on and she wanted to explore things with me, essentially, right, in a nutshell. So she was like, I want to see, you know, I want to see where this goes with you, you know, if you're interested. And I was like, all right, let's try this out. Let's try this out. So a lot of blue pill mistakes already. I admit it. I mean, this was like 15 years ago. So, you know, don't ride me too hard on this, but a lot of blue pill mistakes, a lot of red flags I just ignored. But in any case, she ended up becoming my girlfriend. Right, had this beautiful girlfriend, just got this job at this Fortune 100 company that I've talked about in my coaching videos, making good money. I was driving this like new top-down Mercedes. I had this beautiful girl. I mean, I was happy. I was like, man, I feel complete. This is cool. I felt like I was on cloud nine. I'm like, what else do I need, right? So we dated, right? We dated for a little over, well, in total we dated for a few years, but like boyfriend, girlfriend, we dated for, I want to say it was approximately a year. It was basically from 2005 to 2006. The funny thing is like she was genuinely like in love with me. Okay, so I do know that. She was like genuinely, or a female's concept of love. She genuinely was into me, had the Bambi eyes and all this, was freaked out about losing me. I mean, the whole nine, right? I was just so into this girl that I was just constantly making mistakes, and I kept lowering my value. So I'm not putting this all on her, but I kept lowering my value. I was trying to make the relationship work, and I was really good to this girl too, by the way. It's not like I was a piece of shit to her. I was really good to her. I mean, so much so that even when we fought, okay, and she can attest to this if she ever watches this, but she can attest to this, even when we fought, never once did I even call her a bitch. That was the first and only girlfriend I never called the B word. Even though I wanted to, I never said that to her. I never called her a bitch, much less anything worse than that. Just because I was like really trying to make this work. So I was really like suppressing myself. And there were times where I should have just let her have it, and I didn't, right? I didn't. I was just making a lot of little mistakes like that. And throughout the time we were boyfriend, girlfriend, and it got to the point where I just lowered my value so much. I was making her more of a priority than myself, which is a tremendous mistake I teach you guys to avoid, right? I was making her the priority in my life when I should have been the priority in my life, my goals, my dreams, my aspirations. But she became the priority, and once she became aware of that, that's when things really started going downhill. And the more I felt myself losing her, the more I tried to get her back, which is another mistake I teach you guys, right? It's just best to just cut that and, just stay on your path and purpose. I mean, why do you think I do these coaching videos? Even like when people try to hate on me, like, oh, are you teaching guys this? It's like, dude, I'm not the only one with this story, right? There's like millions and millions of guys out there with the same story as mine. So throughout the year or two that we were dating, I just kept lowering and lowering my value. It's like I was chasing and she just kept backing up. She started reconnecting with a lot of those old girlfriends who magically disappeared when we first started dating. And I've taught you guys the same thing. It's like the girl, when she starts to distance herself from you, she will start reconnecting with those old girlfriends. So that's what she was doing. And then, of course, like she started reconnecting with her auntie, who was a really bad influence. I mean, this chick was already in her, I want to say she was in her late 40s at the time. Chick was still clubbing. She was still like single, still dating around. So she wasn't a very good influence. So she was kind of like taking her and encouraging her to go clubbing with her and stuff like that. The whole time I was like, hey, I'm like, don't do this to our relationship. I literally was telling her, don't do this to our relationship. We have something, we have something. Let's not screw this up. I'm like, whatever it is, let's try to fix it together, because we have a future together. And for the most part, she agreed, right? For the most part, she was like, I do see a future with you. She was like, there is a connection between us. She was like, I am in love with you, but I don't know what it is. I also feel like I want to be free, and this and that. Again, I'm not going to pin that all on her, but that was a result of me lowering my own value. I would say overwhelmingly, most of the time, it was me trying to reach out to her to fix things, right? It was me trying to like compromise with her, which is not what a man should do, by the way, right? You should never do those things. But it was me trying to compromise with her and being like, hey, let's try to work on this. Let's stop what we're doing here. Let's not continue to harm the relationship, because I think that we can have a future together. And I mean, we could have. I mean, even to this day, I'm like, shit, if I didn't make those mistakes, we would still be together now. But however, in the same sense, I have dated girls where they are a lot more empathetic to your needs as well as a man. They're a lot wiser in the sense that they know that it is hard to find like a person that you really connect with out there, right? I mean, you're only going to meet a handful of these people in your life. If you go out as much as I do, you're going to meet you know, a good handful of them. If you don't go out, you might meet one in your lifetime, maybe two. But if you go out as much as I do, you'll meet a good handful of them, maybe a couple of dozen, right? I've met a whole lot of them, but it doesn't happen very often. It's every once in a while you meet somebody where you're like, whoa, this connects, boom, right? And when you have that lightning in a bottle, you have to capitalize on it. And it can't just be one person doing all the work, right? It can't. And I felt at that point, I was basically trying to save the relationship by myself. She had already left the relationship mentally, even though she was still there physically. So this was around mid 2006, after a little over a year of us being boyfriend, girlfriend. She had mentally already left the relationship. She was just like, you know, I don't know what I want anymore. I don't know. I might want to explore a little bit more. And I was telling her at the time, I'm like, hey, you're still young. I mean, she wasn't that young. By then, she was already like touching upon 26, 27. No, I was like 33 years old. I was like 7 years older. So not that much of an age gap either. So I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. I'm like, I think you're going to be making a mistake. I think we're going to be making a mistake if, you know, if we let this go. And she was like, no, I just feel like there's more out there for me. I just feel like, you know, I have to do my own thing and da-da-da. And again, that a lot of that was my own fault for making a lot of mistakes throughout the relationship. Because again, we started that relationship where I had all the power, right? I mean, she was just so into me. It was insane. This girl was like blowing up my phone, calling, texting, always wanting to see me, always wanted me to come over. It wasn't until, you know, we started kind of venturing into the relationship a little bit deeper that I just started to make mistakes. And again, I just started compromising with her a little too often, prioritizing her a little too often, not putting my own needs first, kind of ignoring my own path and purpose. I mean, basically, all the mistakes that I teach you guys not to make here on my channel, I was making those back then. There was no YouTube back then, right? We didn't have any of these red pill mentors back then. Although I was still very good at cold approach. So that was probably, you know, the only like positive that I had going for me. I was like, okay, if any point this relationship ends, I'm just gonna get back out there. Just to finish up on that story. So I was really trying to make it work with her. I mean, I felt like I was practically begging her to stay. I taught you guys, never ever beg these girls. But I was practically begging the girl to stay. I was like, don't leave. And it's not like in most situations where I've seen guys beg girls, it's like, dude, I don't see any connection between you two. You guys have nothing in common. You guys, your values don't even line up. You guys are just on opposite sides of the fences, right? But I mean, with this situation, with this chick, there was a lot. I mean, there was a lot there, right? There was a lot of just similar values and beliefs and just an amazing connection that she took for granted. She basically took for granted. She ended up just taking the advice of her jealous friends, her jealous girlfriends, even her auntie, who was, I would say, was pretty jealous of her, right? Because her auntie, like I said, was in her 40s, still single. And I mean, I tell this to a lot of my female friends. I'm like, don't listen to your girlfriends. If you got a good man, you know, don't listen to your girlfriends, because a lot of times they're trying to sabotage you, even though they'll never admit it. If they see you happy, it kills them if they're still single. It kills them if they don't have a man, you know, because girls love to just pull the rug out from underneath each other. And I even saw that back then with her auntie and her girlfriends. I'm like, why are they telling you this shit? To like go clubbing and to like date other guys? Why? I'm like, what kind of girlfriends are these? Like, what is wrong with them? I'm like, we've got a great relationship. You're with a good guy. I'm like, I treat you right. What are they talking about? In any case, she listened to them. She took their advice, and she proceeded to go out there and meet somebody else. She met another guy, right? Met another guy, and she basically dated that guy throughout the summer of 2006, right? She dated this guy. I mean, I remember when she just met that dude, right? She just met this guy, and she did tell me. She was like, I met somebody. She was like, I haven't gone out with him yet, but I want to. I remember telling her, I was like, you know what, as hurt as I am, and as much as I've like begged you to stay, I'm like, if you go forward with this, I'm done. And I meant it. As hurt as I was like, if you do this, I'm done. And then she was like, I know, but she was like, just give me some time. And I'm like, no, I've given you plenty of time. I'm like, if you go out with this dude, If you try to move forward without me, I'm just done. Right? I've made myself clear. Whether she believed me or not, I don't know. Right? But I said, think before you make this decision. I remember telling her specifically, I was like, think before you do this, because this is going to change both of our lives. I even remember saying that to her. It was June 2006. I remember literally telling her this. If you do this, I'm done. Our lives are going to change right now. We're both going to go in our own directions. And you know what? I have a feeling that if you go where you're going now, you're going to come up snake eyes. I'm like, you have a decision. You can put your faith in me and you can go with me and you can trust me and everything will work out. During this time, I had just left my corporate job, right? So I left my corporate job a few months earlier. So there was like a few months where I was lingering around and I didn't really have employment. I mean, I wasn't going broke. I had money in my savings, but I wasn't working. So in her mind, she was thinking like, oh, what if this guy doesn't get another job? What if this is the end for him? I remember at one point, like we argued, she even said, she was like, you're washed up. She was like, you're all washed up. I just left my corporate job 3 months ago because I'm looking for another opportunity, right? At that time, I was like already looking into starting my own internet business, but I was like, are you serious? Right? I was in my early 30s. I'm like, you're trying to tell me I'm washed up already? I'm like, you're going to regret saying that. I remember telling her that specifically as well. Even more so told her, I'm like, hey, A, do not ever talk to me like that because you'll regret it. And I was like, B, last time I'm going to tell you, if you make the decision to go with this dude, even on one date, we are done. So what does she do? She goes out with this guy. She goes out with him. And as hurt as I was, man, I was just like so torn up the entire summer of 2006. As hurt as I was, I didn't go back. I didn't try to get her back. I was like numb for the entire summer. I was down in the dumps. I was kicking rocks. It took a couple of months. That summer was so horrendous, man, because we broke up like right at the beginning of summer, like early June 2006. Fast forward like 2-3 months later, around August 2006, like the first or second week of August, I started to come out of it. I started to not give a shit anymore. I started to like mentally move on. I was like wanting to pick up other girls, wanting to date other girls. I mean, I just wasn't thinking about her anymore. And at that moment, right? At that moment, it was kind of like a Swingers moment. Swingers 1996, that movie with Jon Favreau, right? Where his ex comes back. Like he documents that very mysterious period of time where that mysterious moment in time, I should say, where your ex just magically comes back to you right when you're over her. It was that very same week that I was just like mentally, spiritually over my ex. And I had literally just met somebody else. That was the week she tried to come back. And she reached out. She reached out in a very subtle way initially, but then she got a little more aggressive when I wouldn't respond. In a nutshell, she was like, you know what? You got to have forgiveness. We all make mistakes. And now I know what I want. And now I know it's you. And you know what I said? Fuck you. Fuck yourself, right? And I didn't take her back. The funny thing was, it was like now MySpace was out. I remember MySpace had come out. So I was using MySpace as part of my gaming tactic. So girls that I would meet through Cold Approach, I would add them on my MySpace right away and I'd start gaming them through social media, right? That's when I really started learning like social media game and how powerful it is to use in your Cold Approach. So, and that's something I teach today in my mastery programs. I started using MySpace a lot and she found my MySpace and she started stalking my MySpace. She literally stalked my MySpace for almost 3 years. 3 years she watched me pick up like girl after girl after girl after girl. My MySpace looked crazy back in the day. I had all these photos with girls. For you guys who were on MySpace back then, like you could have like people can comment on your wall, right? They could write things on your wall. So she was stalking my MySpace. She witnessed all of this. Like girls I would meet in field would comment on my wall like, oh my God, you're so crazy. I met you last night. Oh, I can't believe we just made out on the fly. You know, it's like, you know, it was totally like a shock to her because I was back. The more I would just continue living my life like that, the more obsessed she became with me. So she literally got obsessed with me at one point for that 3-year period that she was stalking me, but I never came back to her, Never went back, man. Never went back. Now she's got 2 kids from 2 different fathers, right? 2 kids from 2 different fathers. And now she's seeing me on YouTube, right? Basically continuing the MySpace days of just gaming and cold approach and meeting girls and taking trips to Vegas and just, you know, dating beautiful women. I mean, I'm sure she's probably like over it as far as trying to get me back, right? She knows that there's really nothing there anymore. There's really, I mean, yeah, there's really no reason for me to come back now. I mean, she had an opportunity when she was in her 20s. She was still young back then. That would have been the time to come back. I mean, and literally at that time, even though I was like still like blue pill and everything, I knew at that time, I'm like, hey, you know, you're only 26 right now. She was like teetering on 27 from what I remember. I was like, let's close up the book here. Cause I was thinking in my, you know, in my head, I'm like, if she gives me the rest of her, you know, her 20s, you know, I don't mind going the distance with this chick, my old blue pill self, right? I was like, I don't mind going the distance with this chick because we did get along. I mean, it's not like we didn't get along. I mean, we were like besties. I mean, we would laugh at the same shit. We'd watch the same movies, listen to the same music, watch the same TV shows. We did get along very well. We were like really good friends before that. So I believe it would have been fine, you know, if she just kind of like got through her period of mental immaturity where she felt like she needed to listen to her friends and her auntie and ride the carousel because that costed her me. I mean, she could have been with me right now. We could have been doing this together. We could have had a great relationship and could have been both flying right now. And I warned her. The funny thing was, it's almost like I had I just had like a sixth sense that we were just going to go in different directions and that her life was going to go tumbling down if she kept going in the direction that she was, which she did, right? And it's not like she's homeless or anything like that. I mean, she has a pretty decent job. She had a college degree, but now she's taking care of 2 kids. I think they're probably like 7 or 8 around right now. I don't know when she had those kids. I want to say like early 2010, somewhere around there. She's taking care of these kids by herself. And unfortunately, both of her kids are boys. So these guys are growing up with a single mother. They're probably going to give her a whole lot of shit as they become teenagers and adolescents and become juveniles and get into trouble, because usually, statistically, that's what happens when you have boys that don't have a father in the house disciplining them. They tend to act out and they tend to get in a lot of trouble. I mean, there are all sorts of statistics on that that I'm not going to jump into in this coaching video. I just wanted to tell the story of my ex-girlfriend who dumped her future successful boyfriend and became a single mother. I mean, that didn't have to happen to her. And the funny thing was, we did talk about kids back then. We talked about having kids, and I was like, yeah, maybe in the future we can do that. So that was something that we could have done together, could have raised kids together, could have had a family together. And you know what? I don't think it would have been that bad. If those friends of hers and her auntie had just minded their own business, just kind of kept their distance, I believe this relationship would have worked out fine. Would it have been perfect? No, but it would have been a good relationship. We could have been a good couple, you know, but I believe she made a very, very bad mistake. I'm sure like deep down she knows it, right? Even though it's really hard for girls to take accountability, take responsibility when they make mistakes. But I think deep down, obviously she knows, right? Because this chick is aware of my YouTube channel. She's aware that I've become successful. I remember when she was like, "You're all washed up," after my corporate job. I was like 32 years old. I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you serious? I'm like, no, I'm just getting started, baby. You watch. So she gets to eat crow as far as that goes. If you have girlfriends that are hating on you because you're in a relationship, or you found a man and they're still single and alone on the weekends and you're enjoying your life with your beau, you know what? Just tell them to all go and suck eggs, right? If they're not going to support you, keep your distance from them, because they will sabotage your relationship, right? If you have any crazy aunties, I don't know, for some reason, a lot of these girls have a crazy auntie. I mean, if you've got a crazy auntie in your life, assuming you're female watching this, if you got a crazy auntie and she's trying to pull you to the clubs with her and she's in her late 40s, huge red flag. You tell that chick to mind her own business, and you tell her like, hey, I'll see you at the family the family picnic, the family Christmas party, but that's pretty much it. You keep your distance from her. When you find a guy and you feel like, shit, you could go the distance with this guy, you have to value that, okay? You don't take that shit for granted, because unlike a man's SMV, sexual marketplace value, that can extend into his 40s, 50s, even his 60s, as a female, I hate to tell you, but yours ends the day you turn 30. And a lot of people don't like to hear that, right? And a lot of guys in the red pill community, a lot of these hardcore red pillars, they are well aware that it actually ends at 25. Okay, I'm just being generous when I say 30. You have to be aware of that. And you know what? If you find a guy and you're in your mid 20s or even your early 20s, you feel like, shit, this is the guy for me, you got to give it a chance. You got to give it a chance to work. You have to give it an opportunity to work, because this might be your only shot, right? And you don't know if that guy's going to become something. You just don't know. And she's not the only ex-girlfriend that I've had that is, probably kicking herself right now, right? I've had ex-girlfriends before her that didn't think I was going to amount to anything in life, because I was getting in so much trouble. I was doing so much blue pill simpy shit in our relationships, just constantly always in trouble. It didn't seem like I was going to go anywhere. And then I did. And then they're like, shit, really? You never know where this guy's future is going to go. And you don't want to be kicking yourself later if he becomes successful, right? And your life detours and you end up becoming a single mom, right? And not only do you have one kid with one dad, but multiple kids from multiple dads. There's not going to be a single high value guy that is going to want to get involved with you beyond just sex. There's not going to be a single high value guy that's going to want to come in and like rescue you, like push his own value aside to rescue yours, to rescue you. Why would he want to do that? It's not like in the movies where they show tons of high value guys, right? Like a George Clooney or some shit, or a Channing Tatum, like coming to save you in the middle of the night. You're just a maid, you've got multiple kids from multiple fathers, he's gonna come in and just rescue you. That Pretty Woman shit doesn't happen in real life. You have an opportunity when you're young, you're in your prime, you're at the peak of your physical attractiveness, to lock down that high value guy. And it's really up to you to have the maturity, the mental maturity, to recognize that you are in your prime, and push your ego aside, push all that feminist brainwashing aside that you've gotten your whole life, telling you that, oh, you could have it all. You could have it all, 30s, 40s, have a career, have the perfect guy. No, you can't have it all. You have to choose one. You have to pick, okay? You have to pick. And if you meet that guy, if you're lucky to meet him, and you're, and a lot of you do, especially if you're even the least bit cute, you meet a lot of high value guys in your 20s that you can go the distance with. The mistake that a lot of you girls make, that I see that, that I've seen a lot of younger girls make, who've ended up in their 30s, 40s, girls that I grew up with that were super hot back in the day, that had their pick of guys that are now still single, still trying to lock down that high value guy. Same problem with my ex-girlfriend. You think the grass is greener on the other side. Like when my ex was going out with this guy, that I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. It's like that constant shiny object syndrome, right? The SOS, the shiny object syndrome. You constantly think that, again, the grass is greener on the other side, when it's not. It's like every relationship's going to have problems, even if it seems like it's going to be perfect and a bowl of cherries. I mean, you're going to have problems along the way. You're going to deal with reality and ups and downs and stuff like that. And if you love each other, you will work through it together. And that's hard enough as it is to make a relationship work. Even if you do love each other, you're into each other, when you have those ups and downs, I mean, it's hard enough to just get through those together. But to add on that, if you have like these outside external forces, right, in the form of jealous girlfriends or crazy aunties trying to constantly sabotage and tear your relationship apart because they're miserable with their own lives, you have to have the mental self-efficacy to recognize that, so that you can avoid it and prevent them from stepping into your life and dismantling a good relationship with a high value guy or a potential high value guy. That's what happened to my ex-girlfriend from 2006. That's the full story, guys. I mean, basically, we had a great relationship together. I loved the girl. She loved me. We were totally into each other. It wasn't just a passing thing. I mean, it was like one of those rare moments where it's like, wow, shit, there was like a connection there and you can feel it. It's like instant. How come that's not working? Hold on. There you go. It was like instant. That's rare. And she probably hasn't felt that since. I felt it a few times just because I go out a whole lot. But obviously we've taken different paths. I'm happy with my own. I've become successful. I have a successful YouTube channel. I've acquired other successful businesses. I'm doing great in life. Financially couldn't be doing better. I don't have multiple kids from multiple different women or anything like that. I mean, I'm still single and free. I haven't screwed up my life, and yet here she is. She's like struggling, has these 2 kids to take care of and raise all by herself. 2 boys all by herself. Where are the dads? The dads are nowhere in sight. How do you think she's feeling? Right? So that's it, guys. That's the story. Let me know what you think about it. I know it's kind of long-winded, but I wanted to just share it all with you. So let me know what you think. Drop some comments below. And until next time, this is M from the 33 Secrets signing out. Don't forget to smash that like button below. Go ahead and smash it right now. Also, hit that notification bell so that you're notified whenever I release a brand new coaching video here on the YouTube. More importantly, guys, please make sure you subscribe. Okay, it helps me out a ton, especially with the YouTube algorithm when you guys are subscribed to my channel. So please make sure you're subscribed. Also share it with other like-minded friends of yours. And for you guys who want to support my work and all of this red pill, gold pill, platinum pill, diamond pill content I'm teaching guys even further, the best way to do that is by jumping into my monthly online coaching program, 7 Months to Mastery, where I'm teaching guys just like you how to go out there and approach and close the youngest, hottest, and most beautiful looking women on the planet. I'm talking about 8s, 9s, and 10s, same exact type of women that myself and all of my coaching students all around the world are approaching and closing every single week. And I kid you not, every single week we are doing this in all 4 corners of the globe, regardless of any lockdowns, shutdowns, racial division. We are continuing to live our lives and approach and close the hottest, youngest, most beautiful looking women on the planet. Again, 8s, 9s, and 10s, same exact type of women that I teach you how to go out there and approach and close. So if you want to support my work and you want to learn how to approach and close the hottest, youngest, most beautiful looking women on the planet yourself, then you need to jump in to my monthly online coaching program, 7 Months of Mastery. And right now it's only $1, right? It's only $1. Still only $1 for the entire first month of coaching lessons. So please take advantage of it, okay? Take advantage of it and learn how to do it yourself, okay? Real easy to get signed up. All you need to do is click that link below in my description box. It will take you over to my website where you can get signed up right now. Just takes 2 seconds. So do that now and I will see you in my next coaching video. Okay, signing out from the Range Rover, guys. Have not filmed in this car in a while. Been filming in the DeLorean, and I kind of miss driving this car, actually. I've been driving the DeLorean a lot. Been driving it everywhere, but it's nice to kind of drive this car and be able to just film and not have, you know, like half a dozen strangers come up and like start waving and wanting to take photos of the car, because that car gets a lot of attention. So it's kind of nice to just drive and shoot and people just leave you alone. All right, till next time, fellas.